Sometime after 40, millions of women develop the same four symptoms, and almost every single one of them is told the same wrong thing, that it is stress, that it is aging, that it is just part of life now, and they need to learn to manage it. The fatigue that sleep does not fix, no matter how many hours you get, the weight that appeared around the belly seemingly overnight and will not leave no matter what you do. The anxiety and mood swings that feel like they belong to a completely different person. The brain fog so thick you walk into a room and forget why you are there, mid-sentence, mid-thought, mid-meeting. That is not aging. That is not stress. That is what happens when four critical hormones begin shifting simultaneously. And nobody warned you it was coming, and nobody is connecting the dots for you now. Today, I am going to connect those dots. I am going to show you exactly which hormones are shifting, what each one is doing to how you feel, why your labs keep coming back normal while you feel anything but normal, and what it actually looks like when this gets addressed properly, because this does not have to be your new normal. I'm Dr. Katherine Ortiz from DNA Wellness and Longevity Institute. Here is what most women are never told, and what I consider one of the most important things I can share with you today. The hormone shifts that make you feel like a completely different person do not start at menopause. They start up to 10 years before. That window is called perimenopause, and it can begin as early as your late 30s, quietly, gradually, without any dramatic announcement. And during that window, your hormones do not simply decline in a straight, predictable line. They fluctuate wildly, surging one week, crashing the next, stabilizing briefly, then dropping again. And sometimes within the same month, sometimes within the same week, which is exactly why you can feel completely fine one day and completely wrecked the next with no obvious explanation for why. And because standard lab work captures a single moment in time, it often misses the fluctuation entirely. Your doctor draws blood on a Tuesday when your estrogen happens to be within range. The lab comes back normal, and you go home feeling like you are losing your mind because you felt completely different on Monday, and you will feel completely different again on Friday. You are not losing your mind. Your hormones are in flux. Your body is reacting exactly the way it should to that flux. And the snapshot your doctor took simply did not tell the whole story. There are four hormones responsible for the majority of what you are experiencing, and each one affects you in a very specific and distinct way. Number one, estrogen. Most people think of estrogen purely as a reproductive hormone, but its role in your body extends far beyond reproduction. Estrogen regulates your mood, your memory, your sleep architecture, your bone density, your cardiovascular health, and your metabolism. It is one of the most systemically important hormones in the female body. When estrogen starts declining or swinging unpredictably, you get brain fog, hot flashes, disrupted sleep, mood instability, and a metabolism that suddenly stops cooperating. But here is what most people are never told about estrogen. It also helps regulate cortisol, your primary stress hormone. When estrogen drops, cortisol rises. And elevated cortisol does something very specific. It drives fat storage directly into the midsection, into the deep visceral fat that wraps around your organs and is extraordinarily resistant to diet and exercise alone. That belly fat that appeared seemingly out of nowhere after 40 and will not budge no matter what you eat or how much you work out, that is estrogen and cortisol working against each other, and no amount of crunches or calorie cutting addresses the root cause. Number two, progesterone. If estrogen gets all the attention, progesterone is the hormone that is quietly disappearing first, often years before estrogen begins its significant decline. Progesterone is your calming, balancing hormone. It reduces anxiety, promotes deep restorative sleep, and keeps the stimulating effects of estrogen in check. And it is typically the first hormone to drop significantly in your late 30s and early 40s. When progesterone declines, you feel wired but exhausted simultaneously. You lie in bed completely drained, but your mind will not stop running. You wake at 2 or 3 in the morning for no discernible reason, lie there for an hour or two, and then finally fall back asleep just before your alarm goes off. That is not insomnia in the traditional sense. That is progesterone loss, and it is one of the most common and most overlooked drivers of the sleep disruption women experience in their 40s. The good news is that it responds beautifully to the right support when it is properly identified. Number three, testosterone. Yes, women need testosterone too, and this is one of the things I find most women are genuinely surprised to learn. Testosterone in women is not about masculinity, it is about vitality. It supports your energy levels, your motivation, your lean muscle mass, your bone density, your cognitive sharpness, and yes, your your libido. When testosterone declines after 40, and it does decline significantly, you do not just lose interest in sex. You lose your drive across the board, your drive to work out, to pursue goals, to engage with the things that used to excite you, to feel like a fully present and motivated version of yourself. Low testosterone in women is one of the most dramatically underdiagnosed hormonal conditions I encounter. And it is also one of the most impactful things we can address when we identify it. Number four, cortisol. We touched on cortisol already, but in the context of the full hormone picture, it deserves its own focused attention. Cortisol operates on a hierarchy in your body. When your system perceives chronic stress, whether that is emotional stress, physical stress, sleep deprivation, or even overexercising, it prioritizes cortisol production above almost everything else. It will literally redirect the raw materials your body needs to produce estrogen and progesterone, a precursor molecule called pregnenolone, and use them to make more cortisol instead. This is known as the pregnenolone steal or the cortisol steal. And it means that chronic low-grade stress, the kind that most of us have normalized as just being part of modern life, directly suppresses the very sex hormones you are trying to support. You cannot meaningfully balance estrogen and progesterone while cortisol is running unchecked. It is the first domino, and until it is addressed, everything else is an uphill battle. I want to address something directly because I hear this from patients constantly. They went to their doctor, they asked about hormones, labs were run, and they were told everything looks normal. And they left that appointment feeling dismissed, confused, and frankly, a little crazy because nothing about how they feel is normal. Here is what you need to understand about that. There is a significant difference between a lab value that falls within a reference range and a hormone level that is actually optimal for you as an individual. Standard reference ranges are constructed from population averages. They are designed to identify disease states, not to assess whether you are functioning at your best. A woman with estrogen at the absolute bottom of the normal range is going to feel completely different from a woman at the top of that same range. Technically, both results are normal. Clinically, those two women are having entirely different experiences. This is why the conversation cannot stop at whether your numbers fall inside a range. The conversation has to include how you feel, how your symptoms map to your levels, and what optimal actually looks like for your specific physiology. When I work with patients, I am not just looking at whether a number clears a threshold, I am looking at the full picture: symptoms, history, lifestyle, and a comprehensive panel that goes well beyond what most standard workups include. Because the goal is not to rule out disease, the goal is to help you feel like yourself again. So, what does addressing this properly actually look like in practice? It starts with a complete hormone panel, not just estrogen and progesterone, but free and total testosterone, DHEAS, cortisol measured at multiple points throughout the day to assess the full cortisol curve, a comprehensive thyroid panel, including T3 and reverse T3, and fasting insulin. Because these hormones do not operate independently, they function as an interconnected system, and what looks like an estrogen problem on the surface is often a cortisol problem at the root or a thyroid issue that is suppressing everything downstream. Treating one hormone in isolation without understanding the full system is like fixing one flat tire on a car with three others that are also flat. You move a little, but not far and not well. When we have the complete picture, we can build a protocol that is specific to your physiology. That protocol might include bioidentical hormone therapy. It might prioritize adrenal support and cortisol regulation first. It might involve targeted nutritional intervention to address the micronutrient deficiencies that are silently undermining your hormone production. The approach is individual. But what is not individual, what is true across the board, is that you do not have to feel this way. The way you feel right now is not a life sentence. It is a starting point. And with the right information and the right support, it is absolutely fixable. If you have been dismissed with a normal lab result while feeling anything but normal, if you have been handed an antidepressant or a sleep aid when what you actually needed was a full hormone panel, if you have spent years managing symptoms without anyone addressing the cause, I want you to hear this clearly. You were right to keep looking. Your body has been sending you a signal, consistently, persistently, for months or years, and now you have a clearer picture of what that signal means. The next step is finding out exactly where your hormones stand right now so you know specifically what needs to be addressed. We have a free hormone quiz at defynaturalaging.com that takes about 2 minutes and will give you a meaningful starting point for that conversation. Go to defynaturalaging.com, take the quiz, and let's figure out together what your body actually needs.